Today we're going to be looking at question 38, which is a sequencing sentences question. Now you're going to see 1 to 2 of these on your exam. And you can identify them because they always start off like this, right? To make this paragraph most logical, sentence 4 should be placed, and then a list of options, which I don't want to look at yet. Part of our strategy for questions like this is to make a prediction about the answer rather than go through all of the choices individually. This will save you time in the long run. You can identify questions like these not just by the language of the question itself, but also by the fact that you've got a paragraph that has a bunch of different numbered sentences. In this case, we have 5, and we're focusing on the position of sentence 4. Should it be where it is, or should it be somewhere else? So what this means in practice is that we're looking for gaps. Those can be gaps in logic, they can be pronouns that don't refer to anything that makes sense. They can be transition words like however or therefore that seem like they're being used illogically or out of order. Or the sentences might be out of time order. It might say, a sentence, 2 sentences out of order might be like sentence 1. Janine scrambled the eggs. Sentence 2. She cracked the eggs. And you wouldn't scramble the eggs before cracking them. That doesn't make sense. It's that kind of error that you're looking for. You're looking for gaps in time, in transitions, and in pronouns. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the passage. Now, this passage is about fulgurites, also known as petrified lightning. This is a sampling from the middle of it, so we're already past the introduction, but that's what a fulgurite is. First discovered in 1706, these formations are found in 2 varieties, sand fulgurites and the much less common rock fulgurites. As it cools, the silica lining forms a glass-walled cavity that may look like a plant's root system. We're not doing this question right now, but I just want to note in passing that that's plural, that's singular. I'm just flagging that as something you're going to want to correct later. Sentence 3. Sand that adhered to the molten silica as it solidified forms a casing around the fragile, glassy structure. And here's sentence 4 in context. Sand fulgurites form when the intense energy of a lightning bolt rapidly heats moist air trapped in sandy soil, and the resulting explosive expansion creates a void lined with melted silica. In sentence 5, rock fulgurites, found almost exclusively on the peaks of mountains, appear as a thin, glassy crust on the surface of a rock or along fractures within them. So I noticed 2 relevant things on my read of this, which is a reference to something lined with melted silica after the sentence that refers to the silica lining and it, as though we should understand what is being referred to. So it, in sentence 2, appears to me to be some kind of ambiguous pronoun, because if we're trying to treat the previous sentence, what is presently sentence 1, as the source of the antecedent for it, that doesn't work for me, right? This is a singular pronoun, and then sand fulgurites and rock fulgurites, they would both take a plural pronoun like they, but even so, it would still be ambiguous because there's 2 different kinds of petrified lightning being talked about. Whereas I think in 4, we get the introduction, what feels like the introduction of melted silica. And the thing that's tipping me off about that is the presence of the word the silica lining, the molten silica, as though we're already familiar with it, as though it's already talking about a specific kind of lining. And that introduction doesn't come until sentence 4. So, okay, my prediction is that there's this weird gap, because I don't know what it is referring to. And so I think that actually the place where sentence 4 ought to go is between sentences 1 and 2. But I definitely do not think that it should be where it is now. So let's look at our choices. So, okay, choice A, the sentence should be placed where it is now. I disagree. As the paragraph currently stands, it feels like there are gaps that could be filled. After sentence 1, well, this would solve it for me. If we plugged it into the space between sentence 1 and 2, then we have a proper antecedent for it, which is a void lined with melted silica. As it cools, the silica lining forms a glass-walled cavity that may look like a plant's root system. You could also make an argument that it refers to the silica lining rather than the void lined with melted silica in the previous sentence. But either way, putting sentence 4 immediately prior adds additional context. So I'm going to circle after sentence 1. I certainly don't think it should go after sentence 5, and I'll tell you why, because sentence 5 is about rock fulgurites, and in sentence 1, rock fulgurites are the second example. So something about sand, petrified lightning, should not come after rock petrified lightning. And I don't believe it should go after sentence 2, because it seems to me that the current sentence 4 is introducing information that is expanded upon in the present sentences 2 and 3. So I looked for gaps in time, in transitions, and in pronouns, and that is what brought me to my answer.